Today we're going to have a look at the Aris 10mm wheelbase and the 290 GP wheel. This wheelbase is my favorite small factor of direct drive at the moment. The 290 though is pretty good, but it could have been so much more. Conspit sent all the equipment for review via their UK distributor RaceSim. As always, they don't get to see beforehand what I have done. My opinions are my own and nobody else's. Let's start with the prices. The Conspit wheelbase will be £509, around 589 euros, or same price in dollars as well. The wheel is roughly 650 pounds, 700 euros or $700, but you will also need something like this. This is the quick release. This is bought separately, and the quick release is around 80 to 90 pounds in about 100 euros, $100 or thereabouts. With the wheel, there will be an extension that you'll see here, but as always, the prices will differ between promotions, times of year, and also stock availability. We can start to talk about a little bit about the specs of the Aris. This is a 10mm wheelbase with an aluminum shroud, and it's very well built. It can be mounted in the regular Fanatec Moza pattern. In the front it has its own proprietary quick release and a button as well for the power. The dimensions are quite small, not very much larger than the Moza R12. At the rear there's a regular input-output, a USB connection for a 6-bar pin, an e-stop, and then these 5 inputs that you'll see there as USB-C format, but these are CAN bus and it cannot be used, sadly, as a USB hub. At the top over here, there's also this little magnetic pin, pogo stick over here, or pogo pin at the top that will expose some connectors. These will be for future expansions that aren't available at the moment, and I have no idea what they are. In terms of power for this 10mm wheelbase, I've heard different types of accounts for this, but I had a call with Conspit to have a little more information about the technical side of this. This is inside will have a custom built 15 Newton meter motor that is detuned by firmware to use 10 Newton meter peak. So even though there's a 15 Newton meter motor inside, that 15 Newton meter won't ever do 15 Newton meter. It will be 10 Newton meter max. The motor is custom made with a customized skewed core. Apparently it feels with a high count of poles, making this the smoothest wheelbase that I've ever reviewed, bar none. Not anything has ever come close to this, and we need to talk a little bit about that just later. If you want to hit the 10 Newton meters, can do that, and it will keep there. In reality, this feels much stronger than the 10 Newton meters will tell you. According to Conspit, this has a skew rate of 4.6 Newton meters per microsecond, which is roughly almost the SemiCube 2 Pro, which has 17 Newton meters. So, technology has evolved quite a bit, and newcomers are coming with, stuff that is really cool. And this is the 290 GP. At the front, it will be forged carbon plate. At the back, it will be metal aluminum in this case. It has a unique ergonomic design. In the front, it will have about 12 buttons, 3 rotaries, 4 thumb rotaries, 2 funky switches, and in terms of ergonomic design, this thing basically is unbeaten in my opinion, because it is 3D, and therefore it will have just the right way to have your fingers in, and it is absolutely fantastic. At the back there will be shifters, which are push-pull. A lot of people won't like push-pull, but I don't mind this. I think these are well spaced at the back, and they are pretty good to use. And then we'll have a rather long clutch at the back, and also to mount this at the back, we'll have this 3x50 mount that will come with a 3x50 mount to a 6x70 mount inside the box, and then this connector over here if you want to use with the Conspit quick release, because you can use this as a USB-C wheel and then connect it to your computer as a third-party wheel, more or less, because we need to go back in the front, and of course you looked at this screen thinking that, well, if this is a USB-C, you can use this with SIM hub. In reality, you can't. And I asked Conspit about it, and they said, well, it's not a Vocor compatible screen, therefore it isn't SIM hub compatible. They are aware that sim racers do like SIM hub because of the functionalities, and in the future They may make the LEDs compatible with Sim Hub. In reality, it would put it more or less side by side to some third-party solutions without screens, but unfortunately it isn't the case that this will be compatible with Sim Hub at the moment for everything, and then likely it will be ever for the screen. The last point is about the quick release. Conspit went in a completely different way that pretty much other manufacturer out there, including, for example, the push nowadays for the D-Spec type you'll see in Mozas and Simagic, and Conspit decided to use this sort of claw with a ball bearing inside. If you look at, for example, at the quick release from the Fanatec one, you can see that the size between them, it is quite significant. In terms of weight, this is heavier and significantly so than this with the extension that comes with the 290 GP in about, I would say about 100 grams even.
Conspit software is extremely straightforward and in some ways similar to Asetek. For the Wheelbase, you can change the settings in a basic or advanced mode, but with the advanced mode, it comes with decent profiles out of the box and all the options that you would need. I would say that the most important software option is the filter sharpness, and as far as I understood it from the call I had with them, Conspit is taking the filter option the opposite way that most do in sim racing. For their Wheelbase, the signal comes so clean and rounded from the shaft that in order to bring some sharp peaks, you will need to increase the filter sharpness. This is important in LMU, but by the way, these filters don't add any latency at all. As for the wheel, some basic functionalities are in the software, like choosing the color of buttons and settings of the wheel, the ability of checking out what the LEDs do, the flags do, as well as calibrating your pedals. The software is simple and straightforward, and a bit of the translation could be better, and this is a point Conspit wanted me to know that they were trying to make it better for future iterations of the software. As for the performance, well, this is the important part of it, right? So, since I've tried the Ares in Sim Racing Expo 2024, I've been impressed by it. It was the Platinum version, but the smaller Ares is as impressive, and in the context of a small form factor wheelbase, I think it is extremely impressive. The first reaction I had to this wheelbase is the same reaction I had to the Club Sport DD, as it feels much stronger than the 10 Nm suggest. The possibility of always having that 10 Nm of peak torque by detuning a 15 Nm motor, I think it was the correct choice. It feels strong, it feels fast, it is incredibly accurate, and is super smooth. If you don't play around with the settings, sometimes it can be too smooth, and that's a thing. I can say that I feel the need for more power most of the times because of its capacity to stay at target torque with a really fast pickup. Its performance, it's fantastic, and most sims that I've tried, including Assetto Corsa, where it was really good for drifting, ACC, iRacing, and Le Mans Ultimate, where it is fantastic giving the correct information. I think it is at the level of the Asetek Forte in terms of quality, just being a step behind the Club Sport DD for ACC, but you know, for very specific reasons. For Le Mans Ultimate, though, the wheel can become too smooth to the point where there's no information when the tires are around the center point, so you need to play around with the filter sharpness to bring some detail there. For LMU, it needs to be quite aggressive in that filter, whereas in other games it can be set to 0 and there's no problem whatsoever. This is probably related with the lack of center feel many have complained, including myself, in Le Mans Ultimate. The smoothness of the wheel takes this lack of center feel to an absolute next level. Lately, in my wheelbase reviews, I'm trying to bring more titles into the review process so we understand what's the flexibility of this wheelbase, and besides, you know, WRC, this wheel has been excellent. I love drifting in it, but part of the FFB excellence is definitely related with the light quick release, which reduces the damping of the system so much it can be quick while it transfers all the details through. I really wish that other companies also took a hint from this, because having a light, strong quick release is really important, especially when you're using it on lower power force feedback wheels. As for the 290 GP, it is mixed feelings. It has excellent ergonomics, it's basically unmatched. Even the lower buttons are reachable. It has good positive clicks. It's so comfortable to use, and the push-pull shifters have a good distance from the fingers, which means you can rest the fingers behind or in the shifters without problems. The problem with the 290 GP is the screen. It's not bad at all, but much like Moza, it is stuck to the selection of screens that oftentimes don't give the necessary info, nor get the point of being as good as some SimHub profiles out there. In LMU, for example, it doesn't give most of the information, so ends up being useless. It's also not a touchscreen, so the center rotary is permanently assigned to scroll through the screens. Conspit wants to bring better screens information on a display, but the feature isn't now, and now this wheel is being removed from reaching its true potential. But if you don't care too much about this, the price is okay, and even without the screen function, it is at the level or even cheaper than some niche or boutique or customized wheels out there.
My favorite small direct drive at the moment, the price isn't too bad, and the way they delivers the torque, it makes it feel more powerful than the 10 millimeters would say. It is an incredibly smooth experience, which you can make less smooth if you want to. There are some things that can be improved in the software, in my opinion, but the quality of the force feedback, it is really something else. I think Conspit really went out of their way to add something new into sim racing in terms of wheelbases, other than to be just another one or a derivative or of any model out there. This is substantially different from everything else out there, either that to be in a quick release or in the smoothness or the power delivery for such a small package. The rest of the ecosystem available in Conspit is also pretty good. The 290 is a bit hit and miss. I didn't really like the screens that they provided, and they said they will be providing better screens in the future. That this is something that puts really the wheel back. The wheel in terms of price, it isn't too bad, but you can also look elsewhere for other choices, because once again, the system is open as long as you use their quick release. They offer other types of wheels. They offer round wheels as well, and they also offer their pedals. The CPP lights are actually pretty nice, so they have a decent enough ecosystem. It's not as expensive as Moza's or Fanatec's, but if you look at each specific item as something individual, in reality they have a good offering. But I think the Aris wheelbase is really something else. Absolutely fascinating wheelbase. Let me know in the comments what you think of this. But I think the Aris wheelbase is really something else. Absolutely fascinating wheelbase. Let me know in the comments what you think of this.